Okay, so this is Deep State Watch on Sunday, the 3rd of February. So there is another thing I would like to talk about. One of the main purposes of this broadcast is to always advertise, promote the new resumed weekly House of Parliament vigil outside Parliament. So that's I'm going to talk a bit about that, about what happened during the last one, and also to try to to try to establish some sort of roadmap for targeting individual community, because I think like navigating your way through the target individual community is like navigating your way through a minefield. So I want to also set up some suggestions, some idea how can people may try to navigate the target individual community, mainly try to avoid, because there is there is all this initiative going on all the time, and what they entail is for you spending most of your life in front of your computer screen. So the main idea is I'm not saying that it's wrong or useless for people to do online activism or armchair activism. I'm not saying that. It's very useful. We have a critical mass of information on the internet, and it would be nice if people, politicians and media people, etc., they will start paying attention. But obviously, that's another story about this kind of cognitive schizophrenia, whereby people just they adapt their knowledge system to the various situations. So they believe certain things on the workplace that help them to hold on to their job, and then they went there with friends. Their belief system changes. They adapt it to the new situation. It's like chameleon, like cognitive schizophrenia chameleon cognitive system. So that's another story. I don't want to digress too much because. But so also some idea, the new vigils, resume vigils, weekly vigils, also some suggestion on how target individual may try not to spend. I don't say that is I'm not going against online activism, but I think try to spend a bit less time in front of your computer screen, a bit more time, meeting people in person and doing real life activism. Yeah, so that another thing I would like to be able to talk about. Sorry, the Yellow Vest is one. What is that? The abomination, the abomination regime change tentatives in Venezuela. There is another one, and all the other thing which seem to indicate that society, humanity are complete, lost their collective reason or something. So, that's and then you can see it from the point of view that they're successfully enslaving everybody, with more than half of the world population in abject poverty and debt, and etc., etc. But let's start from the beginning. So as I said, ideally there is another thing I would like to talk about. If people have been watching this Deep State Watch previously, they will know that I'm not spending time whining about my personal situation, even though I've been a target individual for most of my life. So I'm not venting, making crazy statements. I'm not whining about my personal situation, which is pretty dire anyway. But something maybe at the moment, I'm kind of moving toward like I mean, some kind of I am ideologically feeling. I mean, like very much to move towards some sort of consistent pessimism. Uh, you know, but it's not just about, I noticed my targeting and targeting in general is not going to end in my lifetime, so that's not something very nice anyway. But also looking at all the stuff going on in the world, it seems that increasingly might is right. There is not what little respect there was in the past for international law, international treaties and covenants, domestic law, domestic legislation, natural law, common law, is all going down the toilet, and might is right. But anyway, I want to say a few words about myself. I've been targeted most of my life. I don't think target is if people want to be optimistic and say, "Oh, we are cracking it and it's going to end people will say this stuff for years." I don't want to discourage people. I want to people to be positive in the sense of doing things, not to be positive in the sense of believe like false claim or it's going to end this week or something, because it's a bit unlikely. So I want people to be, positive in the sense of doing stuff, but maybe, moving away from your computer screen and spending at least some time doing stuff in the real world, trying to meet up with other target individuals, trying to explore all the way you have to make your voice heard, if going your local government building or whatever. Yeah, but so I usually people who have been watching these broadcasts before, they know I'm not whining about my personal situation. I'm not venting about my personal situation. I try to be totally rational and positive in a meaningful sense, not just having some kind of yeah. Anyway. But my personal situation is at the moment, after being targeted um, most of my life, at the time when I was actually trying, I never stopped my activism, but at the time I was relaunching my activism in a rather more positive, more effective way. Then I get this diagnosis of having an hernia, which is not very nice because it prevents me from limit me very much in conducting most of the activities I was conducting before, and it's making a lot of things difficult, including activism and stuff. So, and so I'm not going to whine about my personal situation, but that's quite very unfortunate, because this hernia and the prospect of a future operation is very much limiting the stuff I am able to do in the real world. So activism, riding a motorcycle, and doing many other things, which I'm not saying is preventing me from doing that, but you have to make the choice. Like I mean, you want to do things, but then these things are going to make your hernia worse. So it's a way you have to avoid this dilemma: what you do, what you don't do, etc. So it's not very nice. So that's enough said about myself. And so I would like to focus again on this weekly vigils, future, which are going to go on until I'm going to be reasonably healthy. If I remain alive, we carry on doing this organizing this vigil as you know, Les, London, and Stalking. But so I've been through all the organizing them. I've been through all the when we had 25 people in front of the BBC Broadcasting House, you know, and 15 people on a couple of occasions outside the House of Parliament. I've been through all the laws. When at the beginning of 2017, end of 2017, beginning of 2018. I was still organizing these weekly events. Hardly anyone was turning up. So I mean, and now then I went through a period when I was kind of retreating a bit and try to do things just on my own, because I thought, oh, that may be slightly easier. And now, so I've been through all that before already. And so now I know the score on a number of different issues relating to these vigils, things that may happen, things that may go wrong, etc. So I know the score about the highs and the lows and etc. And then so I'm very determined to carry on having this vigil, organizing this vigil. I'm very determined to. So as for what happened last week, unfortunately, there was only two people, myself and Andrew Grant. Andrew, and then, you know, then Kieran O'Reilly, which is a well-known peace activist, and at the moment is one of the leading figures in the Free Julian Assange campaign, and he's at the moment he's conducted his 24/7 vigil outside the Ecuadorian embassy to support Julian Assange. Not entirely on his own, so it's joined by members of the London Catholic Workers organization, and is joined by other activists, by other Julian Assange supporters. Then there is still, several times every week, there is still little vigil organized when there is a few people turning up. There is also joined by people from the continent, or from people from Australia or Canada, or with joining him maybe for one day or two. So that's what Kieran O'Reilly is doing. It seems we've been exchanging on Wednesday, the day of the vigil. We have been exchanging texts all through the morning. It seemed he was really determined to join us, because I also pointed out to him that you know, this shouting slogan about Julian outside Parliament would be actually a very effective way of you know, of getting the attention of members of Parliament, who at the moment that they don't seem to be in any way interested in paying attention to what is happening with Julian Assange. So it seemed to. So he really wanted to join us, and then, you know, and then he throughout then he told me that it was like dealing with all kind of logistic problems outside the embassy, including lack of support, being raided by the police, bitter cold. Or I mean, I just feel for Kieran, honestly. I mean, you know, I was thinking, my God, I mean, you know, he's out there 24/7 with this weather. He himself is not that young, you know. He's a fairly strong character. He's a very strong person, but my God, I mean, you know, with this kind of weather, being out there 24/7. So I kind of feel for Kieran. Anyway, but to make a story short, he wasn't able to come because he was just trying to get, you know, he was getting very little support at the time. The weather was diabolical, and you know, it was just being just raided by the police. He was trying to like reorganize his belonging and get some sleep or something. So, you know, so that's what the situation on Wednesday. Maybe I should like try to see if I can show you. Try to see if I can show you. Just a little video clip from Andrew was filming. So two of us, Andrew was filming. We decided to take a number of video clips on. If I can find, that's just my Facebook timeline with a lot of interesting stuff. Let's have a look if we can. Yes, so let's see if I can get this thing started. So let me show you. 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 So that's some of the video clip Andrea took. And as you can see, now it stopped. Yeah, it's a bit temperamental, this thing. Right. So we can get this started. Yeah, it's a bit funny because I had this problem before. I tried to enlarge the video, and the video stopped playing. So yeah, so let's try to see if we can play it a bit at. Yeah, the light is not very good there, but so anyway, there is myself, Andrew, outside the House of Parliament. I'm wearing this totally ludicrous out because the weather it was really, really bitterly cold, and just came down all the way to central London riding a motorcycle. So it was a bit freezing the situation, but yeah. So that's let's get it maybe. See if we can get a bit more of the volume there. So we managed to give away a few leaflets, and but when I am outside Parliament like that, you know, I'm not so concerned about the. I'm not concerned about. We've been giving away a few, but I'm not so concerned about the buffeting. But I'm not so concerned about the number of leaflets we are giving away. There, as much as like there's a member of Parliament going through just through the little door you can see on the right of myself there. We are just feet away from the pedestrian door, so all these MP coming and going. Quite often they stop a bit to have a look at the placard because they think probably they being member of Parliament, they should know. They should find out what we are protesting about or something to that effect. So it's a bit temperamental, this video, but so I'm more interested in the fact that yeah, we you know, over time, you know, like, you know, some of the people we have been giving leaflet to include make a little list of the top people. We on several occasions I've been giving leaflet to the late Tony Benn. Several occasions I've been giving leaflet to George Galloway when he was still was a member of Parliament. Tim Farron, with them previous leader. Alex Salmon, former Scotland Prime Minister. So I mean, we've been giving a leaflet to quite the, you know, for whatever it's worth. Even Jeremy Corbyn before getting leader of the opposition, he actually he was taking our leaflet. But then after he became leader of the opposition, he started to completely ignore us. So I don't want to read too much into that. But so then toward the end, we went to. Fast forward to when we went where all the journalists are on College Green, and at the moment you can see very much of the journalists. But hopefully in a second we may be able to see a bit more of the journalists. There's a marquee. There you go. That's some of the marquees there. Yes, they stop again. Now what's going on? Buffeting again. Oh, oops. Anyway, let's see if we can see a bit more of college green and the marquees. This thing is going to resume. Hopefully, it's buffeting. Is buffeting. Okay, let's see if we can fast forward a little bit. We have better luck. And then you can see all the group of people shouting there. But mainly, I think the yeah, that's you see there. You can see a bit more of the marquees attendants and a cruise of journalists there. Then you see the banner of all these anti-Brexit campaign, quite vocal there usually. So I think as it's buffeting again, I think they're probably going to stop this ego back. So you see, so we've been there. I know some. I plan to shift a few any number of lifts when we are there, but I'm more interested in the fact that a lot of members of parliament just a few feet away, and they usually even if they don't take our literature, they stop briefly to read our so I would like to encourage people to join us. I mean, I'm not interested in patting myself on the back, but we have been doing a lot of outreach work toward all the political campaign in London by leafleting at rallies and political events, and now we got from a situation where most of most of the fellow political activists in all the different campaigns from a situation whereby they didn't know anything at all about targeting, to a situation with quite a lot of them. I'm not saying they're supporting us. I'm not saying they are endorsing what we are saying. I'm just saying at least they know what we're talking about. So that from a situation where targeting was completely off the radar in terms of fellow political activists in London, etc., to a situation that at least quite a lot of political activists, they have been speaking with me, they know me, they got our literature. So at least they know, let's say, at the very least, they know what we are saying. And that quite a number of people all over the world saying the same identical thing. Like, similarly, if you talk about the House of Parliament, which, arguably, you may you may want to tell the Parliament how they probably a lot MPs, they're probably on a very short leash in terms of what they're allowed to do or say. That's the situation. But however, by being there for years now, fairly consistently, because even when I stopped organizing vigils, I kept going there on my own. By being there quite consistently for a number of years now, I think they know what the member of parliament. Similarly, they is not to say that they're supporting us, or they're not to say that they're endorsing what we are saying, but at least a lot of them, they know what we are saying, right? That seems to me to be quite something, yeah. So I mean, it's quite interesting. I was having this conversation with this a fellow London TI, a guy called David Payne, who at some point managed to organize a meeting with this member of parliament, a maverick Tory MP called Peter Bone. And so he was talking with his member of parliament. He asked him, he was trying to doing his best to explain about targeting. And then at some point he asked his member of parliament, this guy called Peter Bone, a member of parliament. Do you know about these people that now regularly protest outside the House of Parliament? And is Peter Bone, the member of parliament, reply, yes, I know about them. And by now, most member of parliament know about them. But that's that seemed to be quite something. Then actually, as it happened, when we were having quite a large protest, one of the most our most successful one outside the House of Parliament, actually, Peter Bone stopped. This member of Parliament stopped to talk with us, and I have the video. I need to, I have the body cam video. I have so many video. Around that. Sometimes I make them, and then I just put it on some hard drive and some. So I have 100 of them, and it will be quite a job to go dig up this quite lengthy conversation I had with Peter Bone, MP outside the House of Parliament. But at some point, if I find the time and the energy, I may try to find it, the little clip. I maybe share it or something. So what I'm trying to say, support our vigil, because the abstraction, you will find all these people that start this like wondrous initiative that sound like they're going to end, they're supposed to end targeting next week, and then obviously nothing whatsoever ever change, and then then it wastes all time, spending hours taking part in this initiative, spending hours for people to be glued in front of their computer screen. And I say, I'm not saying I respect all that. I think that is actually very necessary, because then it's quite important if you talk to someone in the street, or if you talk to a member of parliament, to point them in the direction of all the huge critical mass of information about us on the internet. So that is absolutely fine and wonderful, and but I think people should take some kind of take some time away from their computer screen and do things like joining our vigil, which I think is abstraction. Obviously, then if you have someone who think, I'm looking all the time for the magic bullet to make it stop tomorrow. So you think, you say, what have you achieved in all these years outside the House of Parliament? We have achieved a lot, but it's a question of the mind, mindset. You do the right kind, roll up your sleeve, you do the right kind of work, and then you get the right kind of results. If you're looking for some fantastic magic bullet, then don't even bother coming to our video, because probably you're wasting our time, you're wasting your own time. But if you understand what's going on in reality, then you roll up your sleeve, you put into work, you get the result, you engage in something which has some quite a certain amount of traction. Most political activists in different campaign land, they now know what we are saying. Similarly, most members of parliament, they know what we are saying, and not to say they're supporting us. They know what you are saying is something, is a lot. If you're looking for the magic bullet, then maybe you should reconsider your approach, because there is no magic bullet. We have a deep state which is completely out of control. Look at what's happening all over the world. Regime change in Venezuela. The entire European Union is supporting regime change in Venezuela. The unseating of a democratically elected president. Look at what's happening. 2,000 Twitter accounts are being deleted because the owner of the account was questioning the official narrative on Venezuela. Look at what's happening in France. These people protesting. It's not so much an ideological protest. These people are not able to put food on their table. If they get weekly attacked by the police, they not instigated violence. They get attacked weekly from the police. The mainstream media, they are blaming the protesters. You know, a lot of the protesters get really horrific injuries by being attacked by the police. At the mainstream media, as one, they are blaming the protesters. Say that they are doing. So look at the kind of horrific. You know, they provoking Russia into some kind of nuclear holocaust. I mean, look at what's. So you think, you know, the deep state is completely out of control. What happened in the world at the moment is totally horrific. If you think that you can find a magic bullet to make targeting stop tomorrow, these people are the same people doing. You know, that's one of their pet. Targeting is one of their pet projects. You know, but they're the same people running rings around president, prime minister, member of parliament. They pull the string and they make everyone do what they want to do. I mean, you think, you know, you think you can find a magic bullet within the next couple of weeks to make them stop? They're running ring around president, the prime minister, and government and nation. You know, the Bank of England now is stealing 1.3 billion of Venezuelan gold that they're refusing to give it back. It doesn't mean, you know, they're getting away with it. The deep state is completely out of control. We are all being enslaved in the most horrific way. If you think you can find a magic bullet to make target stop in the next couple of weeks, I say good luck to you, mate. Good luck. Meantime, people may decide to text, you know, to get themselves away from their computer screen for a little amount of time, and maybe join our vigil and roll up your sleeve, do something in the real world, which are something we are shown to our traction. That's what I say. So yeah, so that's what happened last Wednesday. I hope very much that we may be getting a few more people this Wednesday, which is now today Sunday, so a couple of days away. Yeah. So, but yeah, you know, I say I've been to the eye, a lot of people coming. I've been to the low, no one coming. I've been through doing things on my own, and now I at least you know, I have some clarity of what I'm trying to what we are trying to achieve, which is you know, create you know, this country. I'm sure in London, in all over the country, there is a huge amount of target individual. So we need to have some kind of rallying point, you know, where people can meet in person, and I think is a need. Like, you know, it's one of these basic things that are very much necessary. Like for people to have food and shelter, we need a rallying point where a target individual can meet them in person, right? So, I'm going to keep going as long as, you know, I'm reasonably healthy, in spite of my hernia. I will keep going, and I hope that I not just hope. I have a feeling. That if you know, if my physical health allow me to carry on doing these, organize these vigils for quite some time, I think that eventually we are going to get people coming, and we are going to get also the right kind of people coming. So it's about persevering. It's about persevering, and yeah. So, in a nutshell, come and join us on Wednesday. If people think, oh, I'm more interested, you know, I'm a target individual, I have a very difficult life, I'm more interested in, you know, meeting other target individuals, to talk and to chat, to support each other. That is included, because, you know, our vigil is going to be between. I hope that the weather is going to keep, actually, because at the moment the weather is. I'm not so concerned about the cold, but obviously I'm quite happy to brave the cold. But if there's going to be some torrential rain coming down Wednesday, that may be a bit of a logistic problem. So, you know, the weather is going to hold on Wednesday. Then, you know. Yeah, so basically we meet from 2 o'clock, 12 past 3 in the afternoon, on the right hand side, just on the right hand side of the main carriage entrance, which means the big, huge black gate, you know, the huge, on the right hand side. I deliberately making it short because I fully understand that particularly if people have never been to a demonstration before, to a protest, you know, a vigil, a protest, a vigil may not be everyone cup of tea. So yeah, I deliberately keep it like light, not too heavy, 1 hour and a half. And people can come anytime they want. You know, they can come at the beginning, they can come toward the end, they can come in the middle. Yeah, so at the end, what I'm trying to say, if you're interested more in socializing with other TI, target individuals, then, you know, look, every single time we had a vigil in the past, afterward, we've been spending hours sitting in a cafe, talking, chatting. Most of the people there decide to stay on and to go to a cafe, like we did. I did with Andrew on Wednesday. As it happened, we were still around doing a bit on College Green. That it was already 4:30. So sometimes, you know, it stretches a bit. But after that, we went to this cafe in St. John Church in the basement, in Smith Square. And basically, but you know, we spent an hour talking. By the time I got home, it was already 8 o'clock. So see, people because oh yeah, I would like, you know, is more interested in socializing or with other target individuals. Yeah, there is that is part of it because every single far I can remember, every single time we had any kind of vigil, then people afterward were staying for hours, going to a cafe and chatting, and so the people, you know, if people like say, oh, you know, I don't really like a protest or something, come toward the end, join us at the end, toward the end, about 3:30, so we can join us in a cafe, you know, to go to a cafe, have a chat, and socialize, and etc., etc., etc. So yeah, when it comes to literature and placards, I usually carry a lot of stuff with me, but people are totally free to bring their own stuff. If there's some particular aspect of targeting which they're particularly concerned and they want to focus on that, that's totally fine with us. I mean, you can just, you know, you can pick up a piece of cardboard, a felt pen, you can make your own placard, you can print your own literature. That's perfectly fine, as long as you don't, like, you know, you don't do nothing which is inciting violence or which can get us in trouble with the law enforcement or something. Then you can, you know, you can make your own placard, you can print your own literature. You're super welcome. On the other hand, like most of the time, you know, I carry a lot of stuff, the placard, the literature, Andrew leaflet and stuff. Usually people are quite happy to use what we provide. But if you want to make your own, no one is going to object to that. No one is going to prevent you. You can make your own placard easily, quickly, cheaply with a piece of cardboard and the felt pen, similarly printing. So yeah. So that's the cover, I think, all the logistic. As I said, if you're more interested in socializing with OTI, come toward the end, Alpa 3. It's very easy to find us in front of the main carriage entrance, you know, and then we can all go to one of the local cafes, have a chat, socialize. So I think I'm trying very hard to promote these vigils, weekly vigils, and I think I cover most of the logistic stuff, and in terms of placard, literature, socializing afterwards. So that's yeah, that's more or less So anyway, the main vehicle I'm using to advertise this event is on. Let me have a look at a couple of things. Is on. Is on Facebook. So let's have a look at the main. If I can find that's the look. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Okay, so let me show you. Let me show you something. So let me show you. Let me show you. Let me show you. That's the you know, that's the Facebook event. You know, if you want to look it up on Facebook, the name of the event is "We Are Back." Weekly House of Parliament targeting protests. So if you look it up on Facebook, on Wednesday, February the 6th, in front of the House of Parliament between 2 o'clock and 3:30. There's a few people which are interested, or anything, well, not as much as I would like. I mean, let's see how things goes on Wednesday. So that is all. And then if you have any question, you go to the event. At the bottom, you can find my email address and my telephone number, and then you can contact me on either on Facebook or by phone or by email. If you have any question, you're super welcome to touch the event. So as I said, one of the main concern is to try to create this kind of rallying point because it seemed completely wrong. You know, I think it's probably for people to get TI to get together in any major ways is difficult. It's difficult all over the world. In the US now, the monitors seem to be having a certain a degree of success organizing. It's a big country. It's a lot of target individual. In Poland, they seem to be, at least they seem to be until a few months ago, they seem to be able to organize quite large protests. I think people in France and Germany, they're kind of struggling. There's something going on in Italy. So, but it's never easy. It's never easy to watch TV. We have a huge presence on the internet. It's when it comes to doing things in the real world, like organizing meeting and protest, seems that it's a bit of a challenge. I mean, I really remember what John Allman told me once, which John Allman was the guy, you know, before Les, London and Stalking, he was already for some time, actually, way back organizing, together with Andrew Grant, who came to, who joined me on Wednesday. Joan and Andrew were very good friends. They were two targeted individuals. They were organizing any number of meeting, protest, event, conferences. Actually, before London and Stalking. So John said on one occasion, which is something I will remember when I ran into problems and things, and thing that to get the target individual to work together is like having cats. And that's, so, you know, it's something I always like to quote and to remember when things go slightly wrong, and etc. etc. But you know, it's not anyone's fault, because we are also damaged. I saw people like may not like me using the word damage, but it's not that there's any whatsoever wrong with us. It's just we are damaged by what they're doing to us year after year, month after month, day after day. So I mean, it's not that there is anything wrong with us, but you know, if you you know, if you keep doing something to someone, if you like, I mean, you know, pick up a hammer to start banging someone over the head all the time, I mean, you know, it's bound to have an effect after some time, you know. So similarly, it's not that there is anything wrong to us, but we are damaged because of the stuff we you know, is getting done to us. So I suppose it's not terribly easy to get people to get together and do things together. But you know, I think actually it's quite important to a way to try to look at the larger picture and the larger. I think actually that you know. Most of the some of the horrible thing you see happening at the moment in the world, and for quite some time, not just now, but for decades and many years, is you know it is the fact that in our Western society, at least in Western society, then that extends also to the developing world. There is really this vested interest, is what I call the terror financial banking cartel, which basically they intend of, you know, they intend of consolidating and increasing their wealth. But it is still, you know, wealth, but it's more about power and control. The intent of consolidating and increasing their power, their political power and control over everybody, over everything. And they don't care how much damage they do to, they don't seem to have any feeling for the ordinary people, or how much, you know, death and famine and pushing half of the world population into abject poverty. They don't seem to have any empathy, apparently, for whatever reason, to ordinary people, to working people. So basically, they pursue their quest to consolidate and increase their power, which is already pretty considerable, without no respect or regard for anything or anyone. So. And I think that most of the horrific thing we're witnessing at the moment in the world that is actually due to. I'm confess, you know, I'm quite shocked from some of the stuff going on at the moment. I can just quite randomly quote you a few things. I just came across this article. See if I can find it again. I just came across this article about something which has been happening recently on Twitter, right? Something which has been happening recently on Twitter, which I confess I find it quite shocking. Amongst all the you know, horrific stuff they do, but I think there's quite something else altogether. And let's see if I can find the article, show it to you. See if I can find the article, show it to you. Is I find it? So about something which happened on Twitter, right? Something which have been happening on Twitter. Something which have been happening. Oh, there is a thing. Let me show it to you. Let me show it to you. Yes, let me show it to you, and let me show it to you. Right. Okay. That is an article which have been published by. Let's see if I can get rid of this overlay. Ouch. Yeah, is a article being published by the Free Thought Project, which is either relatively new in terms of alternative media. I try to get rid of the overlay there. Is either new in terms of alternative media, or it's just I never. It's my fault because I never met about them before. So let's get rid of this one as well. Yeah, there we go. And it's so they are absolutely fantastic. The free thought project. They seem to focus on, you know, individual instances where horrific things have been done to ordinary people, and incredible act of arrogance and might is right. The might is right philosophy. So that they seem to some of the stuff they are reporting. My God, it's really shocking. Anyway, this article, which is being published on, is from the 1st of February, a couple of days ago. I read this one, and I was thinking, oh my God, who is safe anymore on social media, on social network? You know, we are hostages of these big social networks. I mean, being a slave, afraid to speak out, afraid to say anything, in case we may lose our jobs, our, you know, our family, our livelihood, be incur some kind of digital death. Anyway, look at this article. Yeah, the context is that this regime change operation in Venezuela, which is in terms of, is so brazen, so arrogant, such duplicity that is breathtaking, and that's is a further example. Is the article said Twitter just purged 2,000 accounts for challenging the official narrative on the coup in Venezuela. I thought, oh my God. You know, they were not like, you know, the people were not criticizing Zionism or criticizing the state of Israel, like, which usually that's what gets your account deleted. Though, no, these people were just, you know, questioning the official narrative about Venezuela. You know, bringing forward facts, like, for instance, you know, Maduro was elected in 2016, and there was under international observers there. They all saying the election was totally fair and square. So for saying something like that, you get your account deleted on Twitter. Yeah, it's getting scarier and scarier every day. You know, first they got the terabytes of our information that is all there stored somewhere, can be eventually be used against us to make us lose our job or demonize that or whatever. Yeah, and now, you know, basically anything you can say can get your account deleted. You know, I personally spent quite years trying to network with fellow political activists from different campaigns from all over the world, because I was thinking, like, if I you know, if I post something about targeting, then these people, which are the opinion makers in a way, they can see it. Maybe occasionally they may have a look at it. They may. So in a way, also to you know, to get the attention of a lot of activism and opinion maker all over the world. I've been working quite hard to network with a number of other political activists in different countries. So, you know, for just a small thing I may say one day on Facebook, or maybe for this broadcast, there you go. You know, I may wake up the other day without warning, without any kind of address. I looking for my account, and where is my account? It's gone. Disappear completely, you know. So it's very scary, even from the simple point of view of, you know, like, you don't want to incur some kind of digital death, you know, that's not very nice. But then, you know, so we move from a situation where he appears to be some kind of freedom of, you know, freedom of speech on the social network. I don't know if it was because they, like, you know, It's because they were deliberately trying to collect terabytes of information on us. So if they maybe they thought at the time it was a good business model for them to allow a certain amount of freedom of speech, we got to a situation whereby everyone is starting like, no, it's not just that people are becoming increasingly worried. Every small thing I may like post in one of these social networks, it may get my account deleted. It's just that people, with people losing their job, with an increased number of countries saying that before they allow you into the country, they want to have a look at your social network activities. This is not just that people now they're afraid that every small thing they may decide to post on a social network may get them deleted. It's go well beyond that. It's come to a point where probably more people increasingly the economy started to drop, but they start to worry about all the stuff they've been posting for years, or what effect they may have on their future, job prospect, being able to work, being able to travel. So that's just the diabolical situation we are dealing with. So yeah, I think what's happened with Venezuela is so brazen. After all after the total disasters, regime changes has been causing in former Yugoslavia. At the moment, Kosovo, which Kosovo, for instance, in former Yugoslavia, from former Yugoslavia, they have an unemployment rate of 100%. If you look at Libya, if you look at Iraq, even the current state of Iraq, after so many years, they still don't have electricity, they still don't have clean water, they don't have proper sewage, the disposal facility. And the fact that they in such a brazen way they can try to regime change Venezuela, most of the problem, like it's been happening so many times in all these regime change situations, most of the current problem of Venezuela has been has been caused by freezing assets of the Venezuelan government abroad, so that they can use the assets to pay for public services, to improve the situation of the people, which they have been trying very hard to do in Venezuela, actually. Freezing assets, crippling economic sanctions, spending a lot of money to subvert into political subversion, getting a lot of thugs and criminals into the country, Venezuela, which are people who are not even Venezuelan, and then you have all these underworld of criminals and drug dealers that you give them a little money, you get them to do whatever you want, basically. So we have all the industrialists in Venezuela, which has been always dead against the government. These people control all aspects of the economy. If they want to create a situation whereby you go to a shop, if for months the shelves are empty, these industrialists can do it very easily. So I personally, and go out on a limb here and say, I believe that 90% of the problem currently being experienced by the Venezuelan people are being caused by foreign interference, foreign sabotage, freezing Venezuelan assets, which is a devastating blow for the Venezuelan economy. The crippling sanction, which is another devastating blow for the Venezuelan economy. All the industrialists and the top people in the country constantly working against the government. So if they decide they want to create a situation whereby for months and months you go into the shop, the shelves are completely empty, it's very easy for them. And then they say, another thing they say is like, oh, Venezuela is a repressive country. I mean, a repressive country is a regime is a dictatorship, you know. There is no freedom of expression, there is no freedom of press. Now, let me give you some of the facts here. In Venezuela, 90% of all the media are controlled by a few oligarchs, yeah, like everywhere else most of the time, yeah. Like in this country, like in the United States. And these people are dead against the Maduro government, yeah. And so these people, every day they publish a constant stream of poison, innuendos, smears, accusation, lies, misinformation, disinformation against the Maduro government, to the point that often, openly or in a kind of a veiled way, they call for the assassination of Nicolas Maduro, right? But people in the West, they will tell you, always, I mean, you know, they even get away. They even get away with calling for the assassination of Maduro. But there is no freedom of press in Venezuela. So, I mean, that gives you some idea of the lies, the horrific, disgusting, revolting lies mainstream media are peddling about Venezuela, right? And now we have a situation with the European community, which I came to the realization that is the European community is, the corruption in the European community is absolutely breathtaking. It's one of the most sinister projects pushing globalization. Is one. So it's only surprising that basically we have a situation with all the 27 countries left in the European Union, except Italy. Must be said, interesting enough, as far as I know, there may be a few other countries which don't agree. But I only am aware of the Italian government. All the other, so 26 say, all the 26. EU colonies, the other 26 EU colonies, they're all calling for regime change in Venezuela. They're all condemning the Maduro regime. And they all I think that I mean, the European Union has always been a fairly totally corrupt institution, but it seems that there is also some kind of I mean, it's getting worse very quickly. That's what I can say. So it's always been totally corrupt, the European Union, but, you know, so now we get most of the people in the EU, most European countries, basically calling for regime change in Venezuela, which is, I think, is quite astounding. I think it's quite outstanding. Yeah. Basically, you know, no, the last election where President Maduro was elected, and there was under of international observer on the ground there. They were all saying, like, that's one of the cleanest election we ever witnessed. Yeah, Maduro won 60% of the vote, was elected with 60% of the vote, the popular vote. All the international observers, there was under and under of them from all over the world on the ground there. They say, this is one of the cleanest election we ever witnessed. So, right? Reported from. One of them was former US President Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter is a man of great integrity, but it's not exactly you know, a bleeding heart liberal. Is a member of the Trilateral Commission and the rest of it. But Jimmy Carter is saying the presidential election where Maduro was elected, it was totally fair and square, nothing, one of the cleanest. Now they're saying all you know, all the members of the European Union, they're calling Maduro a dictator. They're calling it a regime. So that's amazing. But it's quite another thing I would like to show you if I can manage to. Let's have a look. Okay, something from my Facebook timeline. You know, an event, a protest a picket, but that may be a bit ambitious, but of the Bank of England. This event, which is scheduled for next for Wednesday, just the day after our vigil, in front of the Bank of England. It's going to be Thursday, the 7th of February, from 12:30 to 2 o'clock. Right? It is say, give Venezuela back his gold. Picket the Bank of England. Right? Because let's look at the background. Yeah, basically the Bank of England, just to help with the hardship the Venezuelan people is going through, is holding 1.3 billion worth of Venezuelan gold, 31 tons of gold. He's refusing to release it to Venezuela. So they tell the Mark Carney, which is the current governor of the Bank of England, which is used to be work for Goldman Sachs, and which was, I then was a few years at the Bank of Canada, and I don't think he did particularly well there, but that's good. That's we need. So okay. For the Goldman Sachs, it was a bit of a fiasco at the Bank of Canada, so we needed in England obviously to preside over the Bank of England. Is makes sense. The Bank of England, under the leadership of Mark Carney, Goldman Sachs man, is refusing to release a 1.3 billion worth of Venezuelan gold. And they say, Juan Guaido, which is called Guaido, as a symptom like people like Guaido, yes, it's pronounced Guaido. It seems to all these people like Pence and Pompeo, and when they make all this grand statement about Venezuela, can even be bothered to get the name right. So it's called to Mike Pence and it's called Juan Guaido, this creature, right-wing opposition leader, self-appointed president, self-appointed opposition leader, who Trump has illegitimately recognized as president, has written to Theresa May calling for the fund to be sent to him. Yeah, make perfect sense. So, there is this picket outside the Bank of England on Thursday, 12:30 to 2 o'clock. And if I don't know if I'm going to be able to join, even though I feel quite strongly about this abomination. But I think the same thing is happening. There is now this is 1.3 billion worth of gold being stolen, basically. But I think there is also in the United States there is up to 3 billion of I think possibly more of Venezuelan assets being frozen, which is, I mean, there's we are freezing the assets, and then like they did, but and then even when you get a different government, which I hope is not going to happen in Venezuela, then you try to get the money back if you can. I mean, it's very, very difficult, So in a way, they pocket all this money. Oh, we are freezing it because some, grand political reason and stuff. But what appears to be happening is that they're actually stealing the money, because if afterward, even with the different government, they try desperate to get the money back, it's very, very, very difficult. So I mean, they say, oh, well, we pocket the money and now they want it back, but it's so nice to keep it, and so whatever. Okay, so that's about some of the abomination currently happening in the world. So yeah, so a few news from the TI community again. Let's see if I can find it. It's a pertinent article. also there is some initiative which is also promoted by Pax International. Pax International. Let's see if we can find the article. Right. Okay. Oh, okay. So there seem to be, yeah, there's this initiative which people may want to know about, and is a Pax International initiative in the United States, and apparently there is the owner of 10 acres of land in Arizona being made available to the TI community, obviously for people. That's, I would say, by and large, it's only for people targeting the United States, you know. So apparently there is this land, and there was the discussion last night, I think, which I didn't join. I was unable to join, but anyway, also because, you know, it's probably more of interest to people already living in the United States. But, so there is all this land, and you know, and people may explore way of living on this land of greed, and in different fashions. So that's if anyone is interested, that's another news. And so yeah, so there is a lot of stuff going on. I think these are connected. So I think these are connected because most of the, you know, we have this dictatorship, you may say, in the West, and also on most developing countries of the terror financial international banking cartel. In their drive to increase their power, mainly, it doesn't matter what their wealth is. If they want any money, they can print it. They control the Bank of England. Not even members of parliament are allowed to ask questions about the ownership, the real ownership of the Bank of England, just as a footnote. So they own the Bank of England, they own the Federal Reserve. If they want money, they can print it. But they're interested in increasing their power, their control over society. And then it may sound something like a statement which may sound kind of ideological, but what it means in practice, you mean that more than half of the world population is living in abject poverty, and a million of people, due to the way the current economic system functions, million of people are pushing to poverty, more poverty every day all over the world. And then what that mean people not having enough to eat, famine, mental illness, drug abuse, people being pushed into criminality, suicide. So that's all, you know. I believe that actually everything is totally connected. Targeting is one of their pet projects, because we know in our community that targeting is quite big. You know, it's not something, some quirky thing which happen at the margin. We know the number. We know how many people are coming forward. New people are coming forward every day. So we know the number. We know the magnitude. We know that if some people in the United States decide to move to Europe or vice versa, it follows people around. So even only that should show how big this reality is. We can easily talk about at least a NATO-wide program in terms of, you know, and then but it goes well beyond that, because if you're a targeted individual in the West, you decide to relocate to any country which is either a client of NATO or a client of the United States, it follows you around. Every single, all the thousands of targeted individuals all over the world, they will tell you the same identical thing. If you know, it follows people around, so it's big. But then you have to say, we know how big it is. Not just, you know, we saw how many people are coming forward every day. So it's happening to me too, you know, a large number. So it's big, but at the same time, you have this other reality, which is can get any politician or any, you know, any member of mainstream media, or even most of the time, even any member of alternative media, to acknowledge that this thing is actually taking place. And I believe that everything is connected. Then if you go up the food chain, you find out this terror, what they call it, the terror financial banking cartel, which is, you know, arguably they replaced the, if you look back at the 17th, 18th century of the absolute monarchies in France and this country, and then allegedly this absolute monarchic system, they have been replaced by democracy. I believe that arguably you may say that these absolute monarchies, they have not been replaced by democracy. They have been replaced by some kind of plutocratic oligarchic system, which is completely controlled by the terror financial banking cartel. And it's the fact that there's so much talk about democracy is the inter-switch from absolute monarchy to this new system. One of the, you know, one of the key element of transformation was to replace what was brute and brutal control being exerted to brutal force, brutal violence, etc., to move to a situation where the control is more like achieved through brainwashing and consent. So that's why they invented this nice concept of democracy, which most of the time is total nonsense. But yeah, so we live under the dictatorship of what I call the terror financial banking cartel, and yeah, I believe that this targeting is one of their pet projects. You know, why? Because they know the horror they're inflicting on most of with their policies, with their scheme, with their manipulation. They are well aware of the kind of horror they're inflicting on most of the world population. And so the other side of the coin, they're all the time looking for new way of controlling the population to, you know, the targeting is perfect for them, you know. And with so many other things they do, target at the moment, they're not rolling out targeting in a major way on large sections of the population, the political activism population, or because they're afraid of the backlash. You know, they don't feel ready yet to start rolling out this. They hate protester, all kind of protester. You know, I mean. We see what the way the Metropolitan Police has been, you know, infiltrating thousands of people into totally law-abiding, totally peaceful activism organizations. So they hate protesters, but they don't feel ready yet to start rolling out these kind of activities on the activism population, for instance, which most of the time is peaceful and law-abiding, etc., etc. But because they're afraid of the backlash, so it's like, you know, it's like the theory of the boiling frog, which I'm sure most people will be familiar with. If you boil a frog slowly, you know, instead of jumping out of the pan, is so nice and cozy, warm, and then By the time he realized the danger, his nervous system has been paralyzed by the heat. He cannot no longer jump out of the pan. If you have to like boil a frog, boil them slowly. That's what they say. But so they're afraid of the backlash. But at the same time, I think at the moment, there are various ways of social control and controlling the population. One is a completely rigged judicial system, like we saw. It's supposed to be transparent, but and it's supposed to be, the fair and impartial to the judicial system. We saw what happened with Melanie Shaw. The moment Melanie Shaw was starting to represent a danger to the establishment because she was blowing she didn't accept to be silenced. She kept blowing the whistle on this VIP pedophile network, implying people, implying names and things. So first they pretended they were investigating her claims because also there was at the time there was a lot of other people making similar claim about a certain home for children and stuff. So they had to pretend in the beginning that they were kind of taking these claims seriously. But so I think they like let's say they have this kind of investigation which they usually take 30, 40 years. The investigation on the Liverpool disaster when all these people died. I think at the Aces Stadium in Liverpool. I mean, it took them about 26 years to finally admit that actually the people which are the authorities and the police officials which are managing, they're in charge on today, they now actually made serious mistakes. So it took people, to get them to admit that, it took people around about 26 years. Then you have the Black Friday and the Iraq War. I mean, they had three different inquiries, four, I think it was. First, I think it was the Butler inquiries, and the Atton inquiry, then there was the Chilton inquiries. At the Chilton inquiries, they were supposed to release the information a few years ago. They keep delaying for 3 or 4 years. And then they, by and large, so they try to diffuse the whole thing by having all these inquiries, which was lasting 30, 40 years. They try, by the time they drag this thing on and on and on. I think in 30 years' time, when we try to admit some culpability, they probably everyone completely forgot about the initial issues. So that seems to be a bit the philosophy of the establishment. So we see, there are different means and way of controlling the population. One is a totally rigged judicial system, which but we see how fair and transparent the judicial system is in the case of Melanie Shaw. She was trying to expose this VIP pedophile network. After a while, she started last we know about Melanie Shaw is that she was dragged in front of this kind of kangaroo court. There was no witnesses. There was no there was a denotice about reporting to procedure. She was fanned down for, I don't know. Well, we don't know. That's the thing. We don't know because the Melanie Shaw supporters after the. As far as I know, they were trying to find out first what was she being charged with, and they were trying to find out the length of the sentence, and they couldn't find any information whatsoever. They were refused any kind of information. So that's how fair and impartial the judicial system is. So that's I call it the first layer of control they used to control the population, a totally rigged judicial system. Then if inspired, so I have this situation like interesting enough, you have the situation where as soon as people do something which is not terribly um, liked by the establishment, all of a sudden, people crawling out of the woodwork and making this accusation going back some, I don't know how many years. Like, so we saw, for instance, that Alex Salmon, which someone I like very much, the former Alex Salmon is the former Scottish First Minister, the former First Minister of Scotland, and he was one of the last, I think, he was the main, the promoter. At the time was the first, the Scotland First Minister. He was the leader of the SNP, and he promoted the referendum a few years back, the Scottish independence referendum. So one of the main forces behind having a referendum, another referendum on Scottish independence. Then Alex Salmon, at the last general election, Alex Salmon was, which is it used to be a very popular figure in Scotland. He lost his seat quite amazingly, considering the level of general support he had he was enjoying in Scotland. He lost his parliamentary seat. Yes, just a couple of years earlier, he was the main force as the head of the SNP, as the first Minister of Scotland. He was the main force behind having another Scottish independence referendum. I strongly suspect that when he lost his seat during the last general election, I believe, I think that was the establishment. They really went into overdrive to drive him out. That was the. I'm not expressing any opinion about Scottish independence. I think actually I'm not particularly in favor of Scottish independence, but seeing the threat that this referendum did represent to this country establishment, I think so. During the last general election, Alex Salmon lost his parliamentary seat. Yeah, I think at this point, all the establishment went into overdrive and tried to drive him out. So I mean, it's difficult to imagine how many money they spent in advertising, in negative advertising. They finally managed to drive him out of parliament. Then Alex Salmon, after a while, he was trying to reinvent himself as a media personality and make a living out as and because everyone needs to make a living. And then after a while, Alex Salmon went to work for Russia Today, in a way, giving. Alex Salmon is still very, very much liked in Scotland, and a figure which is very much liked in Scotland. And so the fact that he went to work for Russia Today was giving Russia Today some endorsement, some support, at the time when the establishment is totally desperate to silence Russia Today because they're spinning all the crimes they're getting up to, whatever their motivation may be. I mean, whatever their motives and whatever they may be coming from Russia Today, what they're actually doing is producing a fact and through hard fact exposing all the crime of our government, the American government, other Western government. So Alex Salmon went to work for Russia Today, giving in a way a vote of confidence to Russia Today at the moment when all the people in the establishment are totally desperate to silence a possibility to drive Russia Today off air. So what happened after that? 2 weeks after that, these two women came out and accused him of some sexual impropriety, which going back to to 2013. I don't want to pass judgment on what is going on there, but I find quite interesting that just shortly, very shortly after Alexander went to work for Rush Today, and in a way, you know, giving Rush Today some extra cachet, you may say, some extra credibility. At the time when they're really desperate, you know, the white old mandarins, all these people, they're really desperate to drive Rush Today off air, to make a story short, so they want to silence it completely. And then a couple of weeks later, you know, these two women start to make allegations, which I never apparently they mentioned before, that go back to 2013. So, you know, they were quite happy to sit on this stuff for, you know, sit on this stuff to the Scottish referendum, to the last general election. But the moment Alexander went to work for Rush Today, all of a sudden they crawling out of the woodwork. Excuse my French. So, yeah, so basically what I'm trying to say, that's the way the totally rigged, totally corrupt judicial system works. Its main purpose is to neutralize everyone who poses a threat to the establishment. That's the real purpose. So you know, so you get people that you know go against the interest of the establishment. And all of a sudden, you get all these allegations going back 20, 30 years. People start crawling out of the woodwork from any direction, making allegations, smears, and everything, like, you know. And then, you know, you know, so they think maybe a threat to the establishment. So they start. So that's where all this terabyte of information they're collecting on everybody come quite handy, because you know, to causing problems for the establishment, the corporative state. So they start going through all this terabyte of information they have been collecting on everybody to see if they can find something they can pin on you. Right? So digging. Usually, you know, either due to useful ignorance or whatever. You know, I suppose they can find something in the life of everybody. They can twist it and magnify it and whatever, you know. So they dig it, they go into all this terabyte of data, see if they can find something, you know. And then maybe they may try to blackmail you, get off, otherwise tomorrow in the Daily Matter is going to be a story or something, you know. Oh, and then if they can, people refuse to be blackmailed, then they get all these people crawling out the woodwork, all the allegations going back many years, something all of a sudden quite surreal. You see, but then if even in spite of all the, like, you know, all the blackmail and using all this information they have on everybody to blackmail you, or in spite of the fact that they can't dig anything of any significance to destroy your reputation. What they may try to do, then they move to the second layer of social control. They may try to pretend you are mad, you know. so that, you know, you do something, you do some activism. I've been happy to help people in the TI community, but also in the activism community, you know. I heard the story all the time that, you know, people were not targeting individuals which had never had any previous entanglement with the psychiatric system. All of a sudden, you know, they do something which is really a threat to the establishment. All of a sudden, they try to make out that they are mad. So, you know, so like, I mean, it's not anything new, you know. I mean, if you look at the old Soviet Union, what they were trying to do there, it's like, oh, our system is so perfect that if you like, if you object to it, the paradise on earth we are trying to create in the Soviet Union, if you have any objection, then you must be mentally ill, obviously. And so we are shipping you to a psychiatric hospital. So it is nothing new. making out a dissident are crazy, because if you object to this like a banker dictatorship, you know, if you seriously object to our, let's move away from the Soviet Union. I talk about now, here and now, you know. If you seriously object to this like banker dictatorship, which is pushing every day more millions of people into poverty, destroying all our public services, closing down fire station, hospital every week, doubling or trebling the homeless population, murdering 100,000 of disabled people. If you object to that, it is wonderful banker's dictatorship, you know, you must be crazy. You know, how can you? So that's the second layer of social control. That's the second layer of social control. If they even like, you know, dig into all this terabyte of information they have nowadays on everybody, they can find absolutely nothing to blackmail you or to destroy your reputation or to get you in prison. They try to make out that you are crazy, you know, twisting facts around, and then, you know, you know, according to legislation, people can only be sectioned under the mental health act if they are proven to represent a danger to themselves or to others. But it's unbelievable the way they're stretching this legislation to basically to arbitrarily section people for the most frivolous and trivial reasons, which have nothing to do with people ever harming themselves or anyone else. So that's the second layer of social control. And then you have the third layer of social control, which is targeting. You know, targeting is, no, as I say, people say, you try to explain to people, they say things like, oh, why they would want to, you know, you're not important, you're totally important, why they would want to waste all this money and resources to on you, you know, why? Well, the thing is, of course we are not important, we are guinea pigs to develop a third layer of social control, which is based on targeting, you know. Imagine how wonderful if one day, from their point of view, how wonderful for them if one day they feel they can get away with rolling out all this stuff on everyone, all political activists, all whistleblower, anyone they don't like. You know, it's perfect for them, it's perfect, you know. You know, anyone creating problem for the corporative state, they start getting all these assassinate his character, then they get all the sheep in his neighborhood to like go after him. So this way you control the person, you control the rest of the sheep taking part in this kind of activities, and then you can imagine you don't have to resort to the totally rigged judicial system, you don't have to resort to the totally corrupt psychiatric system. You just can fry them with microwave device in their own home. It's perfect. You see, why would they want to spend all their money and resources on you? Totally unimportant you. Because we are guinea pig, because we are used to develop the ultimate system of social control. They wouldn't have to bother with the judicial system. They wouldn't have to bother with the psychiatric system. It's perfect for them. It's perfect. You know, total plausible denial, because if you know, even though they obviously rely a lot of the total ignorance and stupidity of the general population, let's be honest. But you know, if you try, like for instance, you know, if you try to frame someone like they're doing now with Alex Salmon, or like they did with Julian Assange, you leave a lot of tracks, and people start to ask questions, like, you know, that after a while people start to dig up things and which don't sound totally right. Like, I mean, like with Julian Assange, they have all this email sent by the British authorities to the Swedish authorities, urging them not to come to London to interview Julian, which is something the Swedish judiciary, they do routinely actually this thing of interviewing people abroad, overseas or something. They're able to say, so, if you use the judicial system, you leave a lot of footprint to criminalize dissidents. You leave, similarly, even if you use the psychiatric system to destroy dissidents, you're leaving a lot of footprint. But think how wonderful it is for them to have a system whereby they can completely destroy the life of people, targeting, organized stalking, electronic harassment, without hardly leaving any tracks, any evidence. All is based on plausible denials. You can fry, you can fry people at home 24/7. You can get constant sleep deprivation. People don't realize it. People never experience sleep deprivation, so they don't realize what it does to people. But you can go. You can be alright for 1 day, for 2 days, for 3 days, for 4 days. And then you completely freak. I mean, it's like people. You have to experience it to know what the sleep is. You're like so perfect. You want to someone is causing problem to the corporative state, trying to expose of this criminal activity, pedophilia. You just fry them at home with microwave, keeping them awake 24/7. I can assure you they will stop bothering you. I mean, after, give them a few days of sleep deprivation, they will stop posing a problem to the criminals in government and the establishment. So I mean, it's perfect. So see why they would want to use all this money and resources to target you, because we are guinea pigs. A substantial number, but of guinea pigs, still a relative minority compared to the number of the general population, and we are guinea pig. They develop into the system of social control, the mother of all system of social control. If you have to establish, you want to neutralize someone, through the judicial system, is quite awkward, or to the psychiatric system is quite awkward. But if you get them, fry them at home, and or torture them at home with microwave, I can assure you they will stop. After they show why, they will stop posing any problem to the establishment. They're probably too busy surviving, staying alive, and managing to get a couple of hours sleep here and there. So it's perfect. It's the perfect system of social control, whereby if you, I mean, this method, in a way, if you look at organized stalking or gang stalking, is based on on completely assassinating the characters of certain individuals with constantly spreading lies and fabrication. And unfortunately, it's the person involved usually they see the effect of this kind of spreading lies and fabrication, but sometimes it's difficult to get your head around the fact that some people could be so evil, twisted, of going around your back at just spreading lies and fabrication. So in a way, the victims, they see the effect of this kind of lies and fabrication, but it's quite difficult sometimes to get your head around to the fact that people can be so evil, twisted, going around spreading lies and fabrication about you. So, the neutralizing of threats to the establishment and to the system through character assassination is nothing new. It's probably been going on for hundreds of years, at the time of Oliver Cromwell, or the French Revolution or something, someone causing problem to someone powerful, they all of a sudden they have this story coming out and smells and things. So that's nothing new. Assassinating the character, completely assassinating the character, people can may pose a threat to the establishment is nothing new. Now with organized stalking, it's not just assassinating the character, but is telling people that we are so bad and dangerous that the only way to contain us is for people to help out with the 24/7 campaign of harassment, right? it doesn't make, in rational terms, it doesn't make, like, you know, a lot of sense. He has moral to story, moral to the calendar, like, but, you know, they rely a lot on people ignorance and stupidity. So, you know, and then, like someone said, if you repeat some story enough time, it's become the official truth. If then you repeat the story a few more times, then you probably start to, even though you're spreading lies, you probably at some point you start to believe yourself, you start to believe your own lies. So I mean, that's the way it works. So that's what is. So it can be described in a way as a if you have to explain to people, you know, I think my advice to people would be, don't freak people out, telling them things that they unable to accept, because there's all stuff going on. Most people have never heard about it. Usually, when you present you with some fact that you never heard about, you tend to think that they are crazy, because, you know, oh, if that were true to BBC and Rupert Murdoch, and, you know, but they never told me anything about this, so you must be crazy. I never heard about it, you must be crazy. So don't freak people out by telling them all the stuff. Try to engage them into the main objective. If you talk to people that never uh, that don't have any experience whatsoever of targeting, try to engage them. Try to engage them. Try to make them understand that something is going on. So a good way would be to say, like, you know, that there's all these individual people all over the world that they get their life completely ruined. But we are all saying the same identical things. We keep in touch through the internet. We organize things locally. But in terms of everyone saying the same identical thing, we believe that this what we're dealing is more than a sum of a number of isolated incidents, which may be caused by rogue law enforcement, by rogue law authority, local authority, etc. We believe that what is actually going on, also because you seem to follow people around from the United States to Europe and vice versa. Even if people go to some remote country, developing country, follows people around. Country which are client of NATO, of the United States, follows people around. So we believe we are dealing with, that's why maybe you may try to explain it. We believe we are dealing with a large social engineering program, whereby they're trying to create a new layer of social control. So that's the way to explain it to people. So yeah, so let me have a look. So I think I went through most of the thing I wanted to talk about. My personal difficulties with hernia, and, you know, I need to have an operation, and I don't think I'm a particularly timid person, but I can't help thinking, like, it would be a general anesthetic operation, right? But then I was thinking, like, you know, they can just make a small mistake with the anesthetic, you know, and then I can go to sleep with the operation and never wake up again. But, and that brings me to something I would like to share with you. That brings me with something I would like to share with you, if I can find it. Then when tell me I need to have an operation, I can't help be reminded of what happened to the late comedian Joan Rivers, right? Now let me tell you. So I'm sure most of you will be familiar with the story. There we go. I'm sure most of you will be familiar with the story of Joan Rivers. And let me tell you what Wikipedia, not the conspiracy theorist weekly, but Wikipedia is saying about the death of Joan Rivers. My career, 70s, 80s, 90s. Right. Death. So say on August 28, 2014, Rivers experienced serious complications and stopped breathing while undergoing what was scheduled as a minor throat procedure at an outpatient clinic in Yorkville, Manhattan. Resuscitated an hour later, Rivers was transferred to Mount Sinai Hospital and later put on life support. She died on September the 4th at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York, having never awoken from a medical-induced coma. Right. She was cremated, which is very convenient because, you know, if you cremate them or embalm them, they remove all the evidence, I mean, like they did with Diana. Embalmation. Okay, so let me. So she was supposed to be a minor throat procedure, right? A minor throat procedure. She died. Let's see. After nearly 2 months of investigation, federal officials said on November the 10th that the clinic made a number of mistakes, both before and during the procedure. Amongst those were the clinic failure to respond to Rivers' deteriorating vital signs, including a severe drop in her blood pressure. Listen to this one, possibly administering, listen carefully, possibly administering an incorrect anesthetic dosage, repeat, administering an incorrect anesthetic dosage, performing a surgical procedure without her consent, and other medical clinic irregularities. So that is the result of an inquiry done by people usually desperate to whitewash any medical malpractice. Yeah. But they have to admit that they admit to a number of mistakes, including possibly administering an incorrect anesthetic dosage. Mean, like, you know, they make a little mistake with the dosage of the anesthetic and they put it to sleep forever. And that is, without being too paranoid, you know. And that's from Wikipedia, not from the Conspiracy Weekly. So it's obviously the fact that, you know, I know the particular timid person, but when they talk about general anesthetic for my hernia operation, you know, I can't help thinking, okay, as I've been making a big nuisance of myself, you know, not by choice, but as an effect of the fact that I've been targeted most of my life, that seemed in this kind of situation, for them to stop targeting you, there doesn't seem to be an option. So you obviously, I mean, when you're constantly at the receiving end of the kind of stuff for decades, then after a little while, you start trying to fight back. So that's so I've been making, from their point of view, a big nuisance of myself. You never know when they start, when they decide to upgrade you from a big nuisance to a small threat. So, you know, that's about my hernia operation. So, you know, with general anesthetic, and it would be enough for them to make a little mistake. It's quite interesting because recently people start to become a bit more suspicious of the different branches of the establishment, including the medical one. It's quite interesting because recently comedian Jeremy Hardy died, fairly young, relatively speaking, of a particularly aggressive form of cancer. And it's quite interesting that because Jeremy Hardy was a big, for many years, was a very outspoken critic of Zionism and the state of Israel. And now it's quite interesting because I heard a number of people, friends, and, you know, so people are becoming a bit more aware of, you know, that the thing happened and you know, people see, because I heard a few voices after the death of Jeremy Hardy, if you have people voicing some kind of disquiet because because people saying like, okay, he was a very outspoken critic of Zionism and the state of Israel, and then he get this very aggressive form of cancer. People say, oh, that's a bit too convenient, but you know, coincidence, like stuff does happen. And so it's quite interesting. I heard a few people voicing quite concern about putting together the fact that it's like, you know, Jeremy had made himself a bit of a thorn in the side of all the Zionist machination and scheme and the state of Israel criminal activities, which are numerous and most people don't know anything about them, but including the organ trafficking the organ of Palestinians and all other very unsavory things. So, you know, I mean, better be careful though. Better safe than sorry. So let's change the subject. And some people, there are a few people that are expressing like the same thing where when you know, Michael Meacher, when Michael Meacher, the MP, died, you know, Michael Meacher was a close friend of Jeremy Corbyn, and Michael Meacher was also been campaigning almost since 9/11 to debunk the official version of events. On which ground? On the ground that the official version of 9/11 is just a joke. It doesn't make any sense. So, but so he'd been working for, you know, I don't know, 15 plus years trying to debunk this nonsense about the official version of 9/11. Now, I expect that, like, if nowadays, if you try to, you know, it was relatively possible to question the official version of 9/11 in the past. Now I expect that, you know, that is a capital offense on social network. If you question the official version of what's happening in Venezuela, or if you question the official version of 9/11, you probably would wake up one day, your account is gone. You know? So anyway, so you know, yeah. So Michael Meacher spent a good part of 15 years questioning the official version on 9/11. Even at the time he died, it is an interesting thing. Like, so he was a very close friend, but political ally. He was one of the people who mostly promoted the Jeremy Corbyn standing for the leadership. So he was a friend, he was a close political ally, he was one of the main people, you know, encouraging Jeremy to stand in the leadership context. So Michael Meacher was also on, you know, there was another side to Michael Meacher. Michael Meacher has been MP, Member of Parliament. It did campaign. I've been campaigning for the best part of 15 years to debunk quite aggressively the official version of 9/11. For instance, when there was the Bilderberg Festival in London. Now, let me explain it. You probably know about the Bilderberg meetings. When they came to London, I can't really remember exactly which year, but it was, they went to Watford in northwest London to have their meeting in this secluded hotel with large ground and even little ponds and that thinking that they probably that was a good way of keeping the general public away from them. But other people in London, they have different ideas. They organized tongue-in-cheek. They call it the Bilderberg Festival, right? So that they apply to protest the meeting, Bilderberg meeting. It finally, between to and fro, they had to give them permission to protest in the ground of the hotel, because to protest, I was there for 23 days, so I know the logistics. To protest outside the hotel would have been quite blocking the traffic, and so in they had to give people permission to organize this Bilderberg festival in the ground of the hotel. And I was there on all the days of I was there on the Friday, I was there on the Saturday. It was mainly 2 days event, Friday and Saturday. And basically, you know, on the Friday, I may actually show you some, I took some actual video there, which I may still show you from several years ago. And it's quite interesting because you can see, so the people attending this Bilderberg festival, so I got there on the Friday fairly early, and then there's quite a number of interesting people there. With I was standing there in the ground, and then all of a sudden I saw Alex Jones and David Icke talking together, moving in my direction, and they were surrounded by this group of people listening, and you know, and but also that, so you know, and then at some point Alex Jones and David Icke made speeches, but you know, there was not just Alex Jones and David Icke making speeches at the festival. There was also Michael Meacher, which made a speech about debunking the official version of 9/11. That was so. My suspicion is that at the moment Jeremy Corbyn became leader of the Labour Party for the first time, there was still, and Michael Meacher at the time was still very active in, you know, very active in all the time. It was this personal crusade, this personal mission in life to debunk the official version of 9/11. So basically, just shortly before Jeremy became leader of the party, Michael Meacher was, he actually did organize, because a member of parliament, they have the facilities to organize meeting, to organize official meeting. They can organize the privilege to organize, to book a room inside the House of Parliament to organize an official meeting on any given subject. So Michael Meacher, just before Jeremy became leader of the party, he was he did organize a meeting inside Parliament about debunking the official version of 9/11. Yeah, that's correct. I'm not making it up. So, and then after a while, what Michael Meacher did, he actually did cancel the event, and then he was telling people, he was telling people that of the kind of reaction he got from the American embassy in London, and of the things starting to happen in his life. So he gets actually scared. And he canceled the meeting, the 9/11 meeting, so to speak. And then he was telling his friendly associate, I know because I know someone which knew him quite well, by the way. This person is still alive, but as far as we know. But he was telling people that he canceled because he really got scared, because he was for once, immediately the American embassy in London went into overdrive to assassinate his character, to spread rumors and smears about him. But also, I think it probably was a lot of stuff starting to happen around him in his life. You know, I mean, all kind of strange things starting to occur in his life. You see. So he got really worried and scared. He canceled the 9/11 meeting. And then he was also telling people something else. He was telling people, that's just was fairly shortly before he died of, we don't know what about. Yeah, that's another thing. No one knows. I mean, maybe his family, they know, but there's it's not being released any information about the cause of his death. So I was telling people, not just, oh, I canceled the meeting because I became really scared about my safety and my family and etc. But also I know that I will have for trying to organize this meeting. That's before he died of some unknown affliction. Because I got quite scared that that's what he was saying is his friends and people. I became afraid that no, I think I will have to pay for what I try to do. So I would say there's going to be a payback. That's what just before dying. So he would say I canceled this meeting because I became really concerned and really worried about the consequences and for myself and my family. And I think I will have to. There's going to be a payback in the future for this, for trying to organize this meeting about debunking the official nonsense about 9/11. That's happened basically. That's what he was telling friends to explain why he canceled the meeting. Then a few weeks later, Jeremy Corbyn, close friend of Michael Meacher, became leader of the Labour Party. Then a few weeks later, Michael Meacher died of some unknown disease, in the sense that even people very close to him, just for their peace of mind, to find out what really happened there, because a lot of people have been expressing concern about the timing of this thing. He's tried to organize this meeting. Jeremy Corbyn became leader of the Labour Party with a close association, and then a few weeks later he died of some mysterious disease. So a lot of people, friend activists, and they actually were trying to make inquiries. So you say it's so too. Even people say I have email from people. They were emailing other people, and I have the email on my client. The people were saying things like we are trying to find out what he died from, at least to dispel any kind of rumors, to dispel any kind of concern or suspicion. That's some very rational email I get from someone, one of the founder, I think, actually, I'm not going to name him, but the founder of the London Reinvestigate 9/11 movement. So he was sending people email. We are trying to contact the family to find out what he died for, at least to dispel, possible rumor, possible suspicion about all the timing, which is a bit strange. But apparently, as far as I know, these people, they were trying to find out what Michael Meacher died for. They've never been able to find anything beyond the official declaration that he died from some kind of sudden illness. So, yeah, so you see that they have various ways of, silencing their critics. And I remember I was a speaker call many years ago, and I was having a conversation with this elderly gentleman, and which may or may not work for the intelligence community, but I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter because I'm not going to name him or shame him. So we were talking about my activism in general, my activism as speaker corner. He told me something about, I don't know if he was trying to joke, to scare me. No, it was deadly serious, but he said something like, he told me like, you're wasting your time here because no one is paying any attention to you, which unfortunately, if you are campaigning against targeting, that's, you may get the feeling that is actually what is happening. Like, I mean, it's very difficult to for people to take you seriously. So I mean, so what you know, he said, you're wasting your time here because no one is paying any attention to you. Which it was not entirely true because I mean I have so many when I was a speaker con I had so many interesting and really interesting good conversation and communication with so many people there, which you know. Which seemed to be quite to understand what I was talking about, to be in some sympathy with what I was trying to expose and stuff. So, but anyway, he said that's what he said. He said, "You're wasting your time." It was not meant to be a put down or something nasty. We're just making conversation. I was saying, like, you're wasting your time here because no one is paying any attention to you. And then he said, at the moment, if you were to be more successful, and he said, if you were to be more successful, people may start to pay attention to you. They will probably kill you. That's what he told me. And I don't know if it was trying to scare me or, you know, but so, you know, so there are many way of controlling. So, you know, you have this kind of dictatorship of the what I call the terror financial banking cartel. And they started centuries ago, completely gaining control of the money supply, and then from there they start, you know, acquiring, control, buying off all kind of news agency, Reuters, Associated Press. And then they start to create their own private intelligence service that they later become first because actually what people don't know is that most intelligence services were first created by the bank, not by the nation state. So they start creating their own intelligence services that later became the country intelligence service, but they're still answering to the bankers. They're being controlled by the bankers. They start controlling. So news media, entertainment, the defense industry, kind of the political establishment, 100% and more. And then, you know, all the big corporation and, you know, big oil, big pharma, defense. And now I think they got to a point when the you know, they complete control not just all these entities, they completely control, I believe, the social narrative. So they completely control the most social narrative, and you can say many things. There's the illusion of freedom of speech, which is fastly disappearing anyway. But if they have a number of central narratives, and if you go against one of the central narratives, which is they consider they're very important to you know, to maintain their control over society, then you immediately run into big trouble. So there is this illusion of, well, nowadays, well, maybe slightly less, but with all the stuff going on, but there is this illusion about freedom of speech, and but you know, it's very insidious. It's very insidious. There is. You know, it's not like maybe in, you know, in the 17th century it was, you know, if you're a woman behaving a bit strangely, they burn you at the stake or something. You know. Oh, and maybe it's not be as bad as in during the old Soviet Union, where if you criticize the state, it was such a you know, the Soviet Union was such a paradise on earth that you must be crazy, so you end up in a psychiatric hospital. But so it may not as openly done, or but if you go against one of the I believe they control of the social narrative. It's done in a very subtle way, like some of the there is I'm making this broadcast that there is a hundred of things I'm not telling you, because if I were to tell you, I mean, and uh, I will get. So it's also quite important to say I'm making this broadcast and trying to talk touch on how many subjects as possible, but there is a huge amount of stuff. I am referring to this dictatorship of exerted by the terror financial banking cartel, but it's in rather vague terms. There is, let's say, of what I know or what I would like to tell you, I can tell you maybe 20%. If I were to go into the remaining 80%, I will find myself in big trouble. And not in big trouble because what I say is in any way anything to do with violence or crime or any kind of abuse or drug abuse or sexual abuse or anything. No, no, no. Just because if you start debunking certain narratives, if you go against it, so totally peaceful stuff, nothing to do with violence, nothing to do with inciting violence, nothing to do with inciting hatred. But if I were to go into this kind of territory, I know I will end up in big trouble. So so what I'm telling you in this broadcast is just about 20% of what I really would like to talk about. If I start to go into detail about this terror financial banking cartel, the way they exert their power, I will end up in big, big trouble, like so many people before me. So, and we have a very polarized political situation. So, anything you say, which I try not to stay out of all this stuff, because at the end of the day, my main concern is to raise awareness about what's happening to target individual. And then I am concerned about hundred of other things, hundred of other causes. And the situation is such that the situation is so polarized around the presence of Donald Trump, about the Brexit in this country, also things like you may even say, about the current Italian government and many other things, and what's happening in Venezuela. So basically, anything you may say, no, not even to take sides, but just to bring information into the public domain, factual information. There's always someone, your way upsets, you're going to always to upset a large number of people. There's immediately, if you say something, other people coming out and say you're a fascist. If you say something else, other people coming out and say you're a communist. So, I mean, it's very polarized. And because I'm doing something which I believe is quite important to myself and to a lot of other people, namely to raise awareness about the plight of target individual, which is pretty horrific. We have the quality of life of guinea pigs in a laboratory, except that we live in invisible cages made up of people's stupidity, ignorance, the exponential growth of conformity in society, all the character assassination they're waging against us, attacking us with electromagnetic devices. So we live in, that's our invisible cage, you see, and horrific plight. So I don't really want to get into, so there is many things I'm telling you, there are many things I deliberately not telling you, because my main concern is to raise support for the cause of targeting individuals. And I know that at the moment there is a lot of topics that are really controversial. Yeah, I may have a lot to say about these topics, but you know, it is, unfortunately, we have a situation nowadays. That's, I think, is quite important, because if you look at the situation at the moment, if you look at what's happening all over the world, I think it's, you have the main characteristic is like political chaos and confusion. So yeah, so in a way, in the past, it seems slightly easier to take side, support certain things, oppose other things. Now is everything, is a lot of confusion. Without, I'm not saying I'm defending the Italian government, because a lot of people think the Italian government is a fascist government. But just to give you some example of this confusion, you know, uh, you have what we have at the moment with regard to Venezuela, the attempted coup d'etat, which in a way is even more nasty, horrible, and brazen of all the things which happened before in Libya, in former Yugoslavia, in Iraq, in Syria, in Chile. You know, it's even more brazen and more, it can even more as destructive, or even more destructive than many of these imperialist adventures, previous imperialist adventures. But you got no, you got the 26 states of the European Union, which is a disgusting institution. I can't tell you a thing about the European Union you don't know, which are beyond belief. But it's all about knowing the facts. It's not about having opinions. It's about digging up the facts. You have 26 countries in the European Union, yeah, they endorsing the coup d'etat in Venezuela, regime change in Venezuela. And then you get, amongst all these 26 countries, that's an example of this political confusion at the moment. And then you get the Italian government, which is together with the Mexico, Uruguay, a handful of countries, China, Russia, they are opposing this evil coup d'etat. So think. So we have the situation often at the moment, where actually a lot of the traditional left, they're completely embracing the warmongering regime change agenda, is left to marginal pockets of what used to be considered the right wing. I was reading this article about from Adam Gary, which is an excellent, he's one of the founders of this Eurasia Future website. He was saying the same identical thing. Adam Gary is not a right-wing ideologue or anything. He was saying, well, I mean, that obviously it's looking on the event in a rather superficial way, because then we can dig deeper, see what's really what's happening there. But he's observing, Adam, he's observing that whilst most traditional so-called liberal left-wing movement in the world, they confine themselves to identity politics. Even if you talk about identity politics, some are probably coming out to the woodwork. Oh, you're using the expression identity politics, you must be a fascist or something like, you know. But you know, I keep an open mind, but you know, it's increasing is being left to people that used to be considered, you know, it's very confused anyway. You know, I mean, even what little clarity we had in the political arena a few years ago is completely gone. It's more like it's not like left and right, or it's just chaos. It's just chaos. Then you need to wonder, like, you know, is it deliberate? Because you know, maybe this terror financial banking cartel is having an agenda at the moment that to push through some a number of initiatives that would have been just totally unthinkable just 10, 20 years ago. How are they doing that? How are they going to push this kind of agendas vis-a-vis of the global population? The global population in the West, they're increasing. I believe maybe 70% of all the people in the West, including working people, they have been pushed into abject poverty. So they have all these agendas. How we are going to get this agenda by the local population in the West, which they're actually suffering? Are we going to sell them new war, new imperialist adventures, new money spent for defense? How are we? We have all this agenda, all these things we would like to do, like possibly bombing Iran, like, for instance. How do we get away with it? Whilst most of the people in our country are actually suffering terribly from abject poverty. And maybe the answer is to create a total political confusion, chaos. Like I was reading this article being written by Alexandra Bruce, she's the founder of this Forbidden Knowledge Operation website. She was saying like everything that we see at the moment in the political sphere is just a distraction from a distraction from a distraction. Theater is all theater, you know, theater. So there's some really. I think that the terror financial banking cartel, they have some really horrific things in their shopping list, in their wish list, in their agenda, and that may include things like bombing Iran, another push for the complete destabilization of the Middle East. Maybe they may think they can profit from having maybe a limited first strike nuclear war. They would like to support in a even more brazen way the crime of the State of Israel, engage in more widespread regime change all over the world. They have all this horrific agenda. At the same time, they know that most of their population is actually loathes this stuff. Because not least because most of the population in the West, they have problem putting food on the table and feeding their family. They have been pushed increasingly into abject poverty. So how do they implement all this kind of horrific agenda? How can get all this horrific agenda by the population in the West, which is largely impoverished, suffering greatly for all the cut in welfare, wages, jobs, public services, is a total carnage. Homelessness, homeless dying, disabled people dying like flies, and think maybe they think they can get this horrific agenda by the population in the West by distracting them, by creating them a total chaos. Look, a good example, you know, a good example. What you know, I believe what happened with Barack Obama, which I believe was appointed by the bankers. You know, and I'm sorry if I'm going to offend like people that you know. I'm sorry if I'm going to offend the people who believe in Donald Trump, because they're totally desperate. So we need to believe at least in something. We need to believe that everything is fact. But we need to believe in Donald Trump, because he's going to drain the swamp. Right? So I'm sorry if I'm going to offend you. Right? I'm not a Trump basher. I never gone against Trump or expressed overly in the, you know, opinion which are overly critic of Trump. But you know, look, talk about being bad with Rothschild. Okay, Ivana Trump dated. I mean, talk about being bad with Rothschild. You know, Ivana Trump dated not Rothschild in London for the best part of 2 years. If you're talking about being bad with Rothschild. I mean, this guy is in bed with Rothschild, is in bed with Jeffrey Epstein, probably quite literally. I mean, I'm sorry if I'm going to offend you. If the last thing you're resting your hope is in Donald Trump, you know, I tell you the fact, mate. I mean, you know, he was in bed with the mob, he was in bed with the New Jersey mafia, he was in bed with the Russian mafia. So if it's, I mean, I don't make any distinction between Obama and Trump, because you know, they're both working for the same people, the bankers. I'm sorry if I offend you, because I take away your last hope that Trump may eventually drain the swamp. I'm not anti-Trump. I'm just telling you some of the facts. I mean, you know, it's the same thing applied with Obama. There is a brilliant book written by, you know, Wayne Madsen, the manufacturer of a president, you know, about Barack Obama. These people think, please, drain the swamp. Barack Obama, you know, the same kind of theater. You know, I think it's about distracting the general population with all kind of BS. And then behind that, you can do all kind of horrific things that maybe only 20 years ago would have been totally unthinkable. I think that's the same thing happened with Obama, you know. I mean, whilst for a couple of years, everyone was distracted by this Obamacare thing. Oh, Barack Obama is trying to give everyone a universal care. The evil Congress is trying to stop him. Like now with Russiagate, like it's just smoke and mirrors, smoke and mirrors. Barack Obama, you know, Wayne Madsen, in his book The Manufacture of a President, which is a book which I will recommend to anyone to read, show all the connection of Barack Obama with the CIA. His mother was working with the CIA, for the CIA, you know. He was starting a relationship with some important African leader. And then a few weeks later, the leader was instrumental to a coup in some African country. And then after that, she moved to Indonesia. And she got into a relation with some Indonesian general, which was instrumental in the coup against Sukarno, the actual, because Sukarno was the Indonesian president. He was trying, instead of, you know, making money for the bankers, he was trying to a degree to defend the interests of some people, so they had to get rid of him. So there come Barack Obama, mother, flying parachuting her into Indonesia. She started a relationship with this high-ranking general. A few weeks later, the general became instrumental in a coup against the populist president, replacing with, you know, right-wing dictator and screwing up the people. And then she moved to while things were eating up in Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. They parachuted them out of Barack Obama there. So, his grandmother, she was the director of a bank in Hawaii, which was known by everybody to be the bank used by the CIA to funnel money to the operation in the Pacific. So there is this, it's the same Barack Obama, Donald Trump. If you start digging, it's a joke. It's a total joke. So I mean, and I guess until I will stop digressing. I will stop rambling, and I will finish by inviting everybody to come to our meeting on Wednesday, because we need a face-to-face rallying point for targeted individuals in this country. Is something which needs to be there. You can tell a country like this country where there is huge amount, and London, where huge amount of targeted individual and not having some kind of face-to-face rallying point as is a starting point. It's not going to be easy, because you may get a lot of people talking about different things. Some people believe, oh, for me targeting is that is targeting for me, and then someone else, oh, I believe targeting is actually something completely different. It's not easy. It's not easy with what I'm trying to do, because that's another thing you may get. You get people that may be more like, then they're more like coming from the activism experience, then they don't really fully understand targeting. So you get to this Tower of Babel with all people talking different tongues and having different experiences. And so it will be easy to say, oh, I give up, I wash my hands of the whole thing, and I get some rest for my hernia or something. But I think we need a rallying up in London to also for where also everyone is welcome. If people like people from the target individual from different parts of the country. Of course, they won't be able to join us every week, but if they want maybe every month, every couple of months to join us, they are super welcome. So it's not just for people in London, it's for all target individuals in this country to have a rallying point, a rallying situation where people can get together face to face, because at the end of the day, I don't want to say anything against online activism. I don't want to say anything against armchair activism, because if this critical mass of information on the internet is just thanks to online activism or armchair activism. So I'm not going to say anything against all that, but I just say take some time away from your online activism and try to use it in real life activism. You can print your own leaflet, even if you live in an isolated area. You can print your own leaflet. You can find out where your shop, nearest the shopping center is. You can get a leaflet on every Saturday. You can find if there is any seat of government near you, any seat of local government near you. You can go there, leaflet, talk to people. Once a week, if nothing else, like target individuals, and I tend to be a bit reclusive. So at least you get out, you get some fresh air, you get to know, you get to speak with a lot of people, you get to know some other people, and even make friends with people, get in touch with people, and after that we probably feel a lot better. So so I'm going to end here. I know I have a tendency to ramble a bit in what I say. I try to, I try to talk about targeting in relation with the global situation, which is pretty horrific. Never in the last, never like now there has been so much censor, so much victimized of people for telling the truth. So such brazen effort at regime change is pretty horrific. The silence of whistleblowers, the persecution of whistleblowers, but also, you know, so many horrific stuff going on, like the abandonment of Julian Assange, you know, the Julian Assange is a publisher and an editor, but he's been stabbed in the back by all mainstream media. And if nothing else, all these people should realize that, you know, they're going after Julian Assange. I mean, you know, these people, you know, they're not concerned because they don't give the proverbial about telling the truth and doing investigative journalism. They're a bunch of prostitutes. So, I mean, so they're not worried about the fact that there's Julian going after Julian Assange may result on a affecting everyone, every journalist, freedom of speech, because they're not interested in freedom of speech. They're interested in paying their mortgage and coping and yeah. I mean, like I did a post the other day on Facebook that investigative journalism, even in terms of the practicality, has been replaced by copy and paste, syndication, like you know, reproducing the official narrative. So, and you know, this is so many things involved here in this kind of transformation, including the fact that you know, to be a decrease in the you know, the money they're making to selling this paper, which is basically toilet paper, used toilet paper. Hardly surprising that you know, people don't want to buy this garbage. But so it's a very complex phenomenon. I could get into that. To see all the different. They have less money. They have less foreign correspondents. Less people on the ground. So what they do, they just copy and paste each other. Like it's all it's a circle of copying and paste. Everyone is copying and paste each other, and so that's our version of investigative journalism. So it's not surprising that these ruffians they're not supporting Julian Assange, but yeah, and it's quite scary though, the complete lack of support, for instance, for people like Julian Assange. All journalists have been turning their back on him, and now there is this narrative that, you know, all the people in the left have been turning their back on him because they're blaming him for getting Trump being elected. So I mean, I don't want to go into all that, but you know, it's apparently there is one member of parliament which is now been saying anything in support of Julian Assange, which is the excellent Labour MP Chris Williamson. Is one of a kind. Is one of a kind. Sometimes I think it's the only free voice left in Parliament. Right, not the only one. I mean, but you know, but often it's the only, you know, it's the only Chris Williamson, member of Parliament for Derby. I greatly admire him. I slightly admire less the fact that on one day he was coming into Parliament, I was there leafleting and shouting, he completely ignored me. But then again, you know, it's, you know, no one is supporting target individual anyway. So I mean, it's not surprising. But anyway, it's the only member of Parliament, Chris Williamson, which is supporting Julian Assange. And it's the only one of the few members of Parliament left which is speaking out against the regime change in Venezuela. The fact that recently there was actually this musician, which is an author, is a musician, is a Jewish author. a Jewish musician, is the outspoken critic of the state of Israel and Zionism, in spite of being Jewish, and recently has been targeted for all kinds of victimization. And Chris Williamson has been the only one to defend him and to speak out in his support. So I suppose it's not prepared to speak out in defense of targeting individuals yet, unfortunately. So I conclude my rambling. I try to I try to talk about targeting in a kind of humanistic kind of way. I don't want to go spend hours talking about electronic harassment. Even at some point, I may do that. I also may point out how we have all these devices used to target people through microwave. There is a huge list of them being used for crowd control, even being sold on the open market. But if you talk about this stuff, they tell you you're crazy. Even that's part of the cognitive schizophrenia. You have all this information out in the public domain, including from mainstream media, about the existence of this weapon and these devices. And then if you try to talk about them, they say you must be crazy. This stuff doesn't exist. You are crazy. So I try to talk about targeting in a kind of humanistic kind of way. I may at some point go into the fact and making a list of all these electromagnetic microwave devices which are being used to target the people, which are being used for crowd control quite openly. So at the moment, I'm trying to talk about targeting in a kind of political, humanistic kind of way, like. I try to look a bit at the larger picture. How targeted is a pet project, is a very important project for this terror financial banking cartel. I think they are taking actually a very personal, direct interest in following and managing this kind of experiment, because for them will be the perfect way of social control. Okay, you can control people by setting them up with the judicial system. You can control people by making up that they are crazy. But if you can fry people or target people with, in Toronto with the sleep deprivation for day, what better way to neutralize people? You get complete plausible denial, because if you target people through the judicial system, you leave a lot of footprint everywhere. With then, like now, we have all the information about the stuff going on between the Swedish and British government with regard to Julian Assange. We have all the compromising emails and things. Don't come to interview Julian. Try to drag this thing on as long as possible so we can get the seal indictment from the United States and blah, blah, blah. So if you use the judicial system as a psychiatric system, you leave a lot of footprint that can someone, sometimes some of the truth may come to light afterward. But if you use this, it's perfect. It's for these elite, for these criminals, it's perfect. To neutralize people. The only reason they're only using it at the moment at the kind of experimental level, experimenting with the fairly largest number of guinea pigs in the United States. In this country, etc., is because they're afraid of there's going to be a huge backlash. If at some point in the future they can feel confident that they can start rolling out this stuff out on first on political activists, the whistleblowers, and everyone they don't like, they are going to do it. If they think we can get away with it, let's go with it. So it's perfect. It's not cumbersome as like targeting people through the judicial system like they're doing now with Alex Salmon, which, by the way, I've been talking at length with Alex Salmon. Alex Salmon was so gracious on one occasion that when we were 3 or 4 of us outside the House of Parliament, he give us a big smile, take some of our literature, incidentally. But so that's, I think it's very nice. It's a very nice person. So now they try to set him up with some trump up charge and things, So, but you think targeting is perfect. That there's not as cumbersome as setting someone up through the judicial system or the psychiatric system. They can just, fry people in their home using microwave devices, giving them sleep deprivation. After a while, you're a vocal critic of all the current abomination going on. They start targeting you at home with sleep deprivation. After a while, all you can think about is trying to get some sleep. You completely forgot about denouncing this criminal or your activism. You give it 3 or 4 days of sleep deprivation. All you can think about is, so it's perfect. It's perfect. So I think is plenty of evidence that targeting is very central to the plan of the terror financial banking cartel, of the plans to enslave humanity, to push everyone into poverty, is part and parcel of all this plan of enslavement. Make perfect sense, together with getting people into poverty, getting people into debt, making people ill, making people mentally ill, making people obese, poisoning them with GMO food, then they irradiating them with microwaves. It's all part of the same plan, to enslave humanity. So I usually try to talk about targeting in a kind of humanistic, political way, to show it, instead of spending hours talking about remote neural monitoring, or spending hours talking about the different devices that are being used in electronic harassment, including some that are completely in the public domain. But then it's part of this. I don't think people really, you see people like being interviewed in the street and about some political issue, and you listen to what they're saying, and you feel like these people don't have a clue. I mean, how can, so it's so much ignorance and stupidity around, and it's all induced. It's all induced because I was reading an article today. Anyway, I don't want to refer to digress, otherwise getting a bit much. But so basically, the main message is, come on Wednesday to join us, and you can come anytime, at the beginning, at the end. You can bring your own literature, a placard. You can use ours. You can come attend, join us for a social in a cafe. So it's totally free. It's totally relaxed. It's totally friendly. We have quite excellent relationship with the police there, because it's been months and months that that they walk up and down. They don't bother me. They completely ignore me. There's been a bit of aggro months and months ago, but then at the moment they're leaving us completely alone. They never bother us. They never ask any questions. So it's totally relaxed. No aggravation, nothing there. So join us Wednesday. And with this, I end the broadcast. And I'm going to talk about different things in the future. And may actually go. There's so many things we need to be talking about. All these kinds of devices that electromagnetic microwave devices. Some of them are even used for crowd control. Some of them are even being used for crowd control as early as the 1999. I think in Seattle, they're using sonic guns openly, as it was reported in open mainstream media. So, and I may talk in the future about how some of these devices can even be bought online. So if you want to, So for the time being, there's so many other things which may need to be talked about in the future. I will talk about them in the future, but for now I say come on Wednesday, and that's the end of the broadcast.